Weekly Gear Update is brought to you by Mid-South Shooter Supply.
Hi, and welcome to 6'5 Guys. I'm Ed Mobley.
And I'm Steve Lawrence. Guys, many times we get the question, what do we use for sizing dies? Now, many of you know, if you follow some of the reloading videos that we've done, for a long time we've been using the Redding full-length sizing die with the S-type bushing. In fact, I'm continuing to use that. Now, recently you've gone to the Forster full-length die, but you've had the honed out dies. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Correct. So several years ago, I read about a shooter that actually was renowned for shooting these 10-round, like one-hole groups with his like 308 time and time again. And what he recommended at the time was, find the proper size of bushing for your round, and then get a Forster die honed out.
So the neck portion of the die is honed to the dimension of the bushing that you're using.
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, I had always been under the impression that first you needed to get a bushing die, find the right size of the bushing, and then get the die honed out. But a lot of folks are getting into the sport and they're saying, hey, what do I purchase as far as a sizing die? And in consultation with Forster, what they typically recommend is to measure the outside neck diameter of a loaded round and subtract 4 thou, and have the die reamed out or honed. Reamed sounds a little overly aggressive, but honed out to that particular diameter. Now, of course, that's predicated on that you're going to be using a mandrel or an expander ball to bring it up.
Now, would that
that
approach differ based on the types of brass? Because we know some brass
that's correct,
thicker in the neck than others.
That's correct. So if you're going to get a die honed out, you need to make a determination. What brand of brass are you going to use, or you have to stick with brands of brass that are going to have a particular range of neck thickness.
Okay.
And by going down 4 thou, it gives you enough wiggle room for lot-to-lot variations within a particular brand, or maybe finding a couple of brands that are close enough. Now, in this particular case, I pretty much use Lapua brass, so it was pretty easy for me to load around, measure the outside neck diameter. I shared that information with the folks at Forster, and I sent in the dies that I had. And I got
one's 308, one's 6547, or?
I sent in 3. The 308 one is currently mounted on my press, but I also sent in one in 223 and 65x47.
Okay.
And they came back inside of a week.
Okay.
And it was $12.50 each, $12.50.
It's a screaming deal.
Yeah, to get them honed. But this also got me thinking, let's say you don't even have a die. I'm telling folks right now, just contact Forster directly. Now, of course, they're going to sell you the die at full list, but when you consider the savings of ordering it somewhere else, getting it shipped to you,
and
then
shipping back and
shipping it
forth
to Forster or whatever, for a full-length sizing die, I would just call them up, tell them which die you want, and then just get a good, reliable measurement of your outside neck diameter, and then roll with that.
So here's the $64,000 question. So you've switched dies, you've gone to the honed full-length die. What difference did you notice in that change-up?
So I noticed less run out than with the bushing die. And I even did the other day I actually took the Forster die and I used the Forster coax press as sort of my control.
Okay.
I mean, that's known for
consistency and quality.
Yeah, really good consistency.
Yep.
And I compared that with the 550, and honestly, I couldn't see a difference. Okay. So, but also on the 550 compared to both the Redding die and this, I got less run out.
Okay.
And then it just got me thinking in the future, if I'm going to start shooting different cartridges, or when somebody asks, hey, you know, where do I start? I think this right now is probably the most straightforward and economical recommendation.
Yeah. Now, you know, obviously we have no scientific evidence, but what would you assume would be causing that variation in the runout between the S-type bushing die and a honed die?
Well, I mean, Redding even discusses it on their website, because that bushing, there's a little bit of wiggle room in there, and depending on, you know, whether you put the bushing in numbers down or numbers up, that can actually affect the concentricity. Now, some would argue that using a bushing may actually be more accurate, even though there's a little bit of runout. There's a small unsized portion of the neck, and some say that actually helps center the cartridge in your chamber.
Yep.
And, you know, perhaps a bench rest shooter might see the difference in that. I personally haven't recognized any difference. So I think it's more of an academic issue. I mean, some could argue that the bushing does give you that advantage versus not having a bushing, because again, when you have this honed die, the entire neck is sized, not just, you know, like 90-95% of it.
So, you know, this is actually something, you know, I'm glad you went first and can offer your testimony around some of the improvements that you're seeing. So, you know, this is something I'm going to be looking at probably moving to later on this year. So for you guys, if you're interested, give this a try.
Yeah, and again, if you've got Redding bushing dies, we're not saying toss them out.
Right.
Absolutely
great
don't
dies.
do that. Absolutely don't do that. But if you're looking for a die, this is another option. And again, we have no commercial relationship with Forster.
Right.
This is not an advertisement. They're not paying us. This has just been our experience.
Yeah. This documenting our journey. So,
well, folks, we hope you found that useful. Until next time, remember, life's an adventure.
stay on target.